Good evening, good afternoon, and good morning. And hello, all you lovely people. Let's just check my screen, make sure the audio is coming out. It is. That's good. Lovely to see you all. I hope you're all well. I hope you're all happy. And welcome to another Photography Lockdown Challenge. We're going to be going through some pictures, discussing a few things, talking about some feedback, trying to give a bit of coaching and encouraging to everybody. Photography Lockdown Challenges are what they say on the tin. They're challenges to help you lock down your creative photography. This isn't a competition to be won. This is a challenge. It's something to give it a go. So, hello. We'll just give it a moment, let everyone get settled down, let me sort my screens out. While we do that, I just want to say a huge thank you to everyone who gave me so much encouragement with the recent YouTube video I put up, New Forest Photo Ride. It's something we've thought about for a little while, to do some motorcycle journeys in some beautiful places and stop and take some photographs along the way. Motorcycles and photography, to my mind, just belong together. On a motorcycle, you're part of the environment. You can feel little changes in temperature. You can smell the hedgerows and the fields and the rivers and the streams and the oceans. It is a wonderful, wonderful experience. And I find, for me, it puts me in the right frame of mind. And I wanted to take you out and show you some beautiful places, take some photographs, and maybe tell you a little bit of the history of the area too. So, fabulous stuff. Really great. Thank you for all the encouragement. There are indeed going to be more like it. If you haven't seen the video, there is a link to it in the description area below this live stream. Yes, Glyn, no motorbikes for you, sir. I get it. I love that comment you left on the video as well. It just made me laugh. I really did think you would do that. So hello, and welcome to everybody. Just check on my other screen, make sure I have got everything going on here. Yes, everything looks good. So, spotlighting a subject, just using light, that was our challenge, PLD Spotlight. This isn't an easy thing to do, and it was purposely designed that way, because using light, it really makes you look, it makes you think, because light is everything. Light will make or break your images. It is the number one thing. You could have a not so exciting composition of a not so exciting subject, but if you've got some beautiful light on it, it absolutely makes a world of difference. And that's what this challenge was all about. Finding a way to tell the viewer where to look just by using light. The thing to remember here is that the tougher the challenge feels for you, the more growth you may find in completing it. There's no pain. Sorry, no gain, no pain. No pain, no gain, as they like to say. The entries we had in our PLD Spotlight were imaginative, interesting, and there was some seriously good photography showcased. If you haven't had a look in the album, then really, please go and do it, because you'll get ideas. It will help you figure out new ways of doing things, new ways of thinking, and new ways of noticing things. Also part of the thinking behind the YouTube videos which I'm starting to create, and it's going to be an ongoing thing. They will be going on, and I hope to take you further and further afield. Those of you who don't live in the UK, I want to show you some beautiful places there. Anyway, enough of that. I'm just really, really excited about that whole project. So, I guess without further ado, I should just move my screens around. Let's go and have a look at some photos. It's always hard judging, and looking at these while I was waiting to go live, it's kind of like you start questioning yourself. Go, oh, there's that one or that one, but I still keep coming back to the same ones. So therefore, those are the ones that we have got. Let's go look in the album. Let's get my screen mixed. Let's get ready to do this and see what we've got. I'm going to be giving some coaching and feedback to everybody, and it is intended to help you and everybody grow your skills. This isn't about a personal criticism. Please don't take it that way. Sometimes I might sound a little harsh. The reason behind that is I'd be a useless coach if I didn't actually give everyone a bit of a push. We're going to be here for around about an hour. We'll finish round about 8 p.m. UK time, where I will be announcing my chosen favourites. I'm not going to say winners, I'm going to say my chosen favourites in this challenge. Now, if we just go and have a look at the image I put up as an example, you see what's going on here? We're looking at this area. We are looking directly at this cactus. We've used light to make the viewer look in that place by positioning something in the brightest part of the picture, by aligning the top of that cactus precisely over the setting sun. That is where we look, and we sort of spread out from there. How do you do it? It's really simple. Composition is an arms and legs and hands and feet thing. It's about moving your body left and right, up and down, twisting and tilting the camera, excuse me, and making things line up the way you want them to line up. So this is an example of a way to use light to highlight the subject of a picture. And it was, in this case, that cactus. Also, look at the light just wrapping around these other little bits of cactus. You sort of start here and spread out around the picture. We tend to go to the brightest area first. Thank you very much indeed, Stuart Anthony, for supporting PLD. If you, like Stuart, would like to support this challenge, there's a little dollar symbol in the chat. You can buy everyone a sticker, post a sponsored question. I'm keeping a beady eye on my other monitor to do that. So let's just, oh, I need to arrange and move something just so I can see what I'm up to. There we go, move that screen over there. So what do we got? I'm not going to be talking about every picture, but let's look at a few. Kirsten Wood. You've got a lovely picture of a pony here. I love the animation, the way the ears are pricked forward. Also, you've got some very nice backlight going on here as well. I think you possibly could have reduced that exposure just a little tiny bit because there is a little bit of burnout in the mane and on Pony's face here. It's a great shot, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying it isn't. I do like these little pools of light and shade going on here, and you have got this sort of light pool here, and it's kind of framed by the shadow of the trees at the back and the way Kirsten has got the shadow on the trees at the front. It's a really nice shot. These are the things you need to look for when you're looking for pools of light. My main criticism would be if you could have found a slightly different something on this side to make it darker. Okay, I get it. It's not something you could probably do that well because there wasn't a shadow there. But yeah, we are looking at the pony. There is light shining on the pony or the horse, whichever way you wish to look at it. Linda, I think there's some great light coming through this little mushroom. I'm really quite intrigued by what it is. Is it just a little beam of sunlight, maybe as the sun's going down or rising, which is just lighting, or have you actually put a little artificial light behind there? If you're here, Linda, I'd love to know how you did that. It's just intriguing. My critique for you here is I think the whole thing is just a little dark. It could just be a bit brighter. Remember, exposure is part of composition. Now, of course, this is just my opinion. I'm not saying that I am right, and I'm not saying you are wrong. It's just my feeling. It doesn't look quite sharp, but then that could well be Facebook. Facebook does weird things when you upload images. It compresses things and it does all sorts of crazy stuff. But it is a very nice picture. I just think it could have been a tiny bit brighter. And I'm intrigued how you got that bit of light there. Darren. It's a nice shot. I like the light coming towards the camera. And I like the tunnel. I'm not sure we're using light to highlight the subject. It's kind of like the light itself is the subject. This little bright point here, because we go straight to it. Very, very, very strong leading lines going on all over the place, all sort of leading down here to the light. Imaginative thinking, and I think it's a great experiment in photography. I'm not so sure that the light is telling us where to look. I suppose it is. This is a tricky one for me. I feel it needs a stronger subject within the frame, that's all. What else have we got going on here? Tony, let's have a look at yours here. You've got some really great light on the bow of this ship. It's really making the bow stand out. It's really, really strong. But I'm not sure the light is highlighting the subject. There is a highlight on the subject rather than the light is going, look at this shit. Excuse me. The other thing is, I think it's a bit of a shame that the back end of the ship, the stern, is missing. I don't know if you could have zoomed out a bit, made the shot a little wider, because to me it looks a little odd that the back end sort of cropped off. It somehow is making the ship look a bit distorted, a little bit bent. But, you know, well done for spotting some nice light. Good on you, Tony. That's what this is all about. I'm just having a quick look on the chat just to see if there's anything going on in there. Okay, Gert has just posted a really useful little tip here, how to get the most out of Facebook compression. Adjust the longest side to be 2048, 2048 pixels, 2048 pixels. Very, very useful. Thanks for that one, Gert. I'm going to try it on something because I put a new banner on our photography hints and tips main page and it just looks horrible. And I tried all sorts of different sizes. I'm going to try that. 2048. In fact, if I can find a pen, I'm going to quickly write it down now. 2048 pixels. Thanks, Gert. Sarah Moore, you got some very interesting light going on here on this little deer, and the light is kind of spotlighting it. It's a little bit too hot and cold though. We've got some very, very strong light and some very, very deep shadow, particularly on the deer's face. I like the way you're thinking though. I like the way you notice the fact that you've got some interesting light going on here. The thing is, I think the position of the deer's head isn't helping because most of the deer's face is in shade. Now, if you could have waited a little while until the deer just turned a little more, maybe so the shade was half and half, straight down the head, I think it would have helped. And then you could have got away with that slightly darker exposure. It's very, very spiky light going on here. The other thing, if you were doing a little bit of post-production, you could have maybe pulled the contrast down a little bit, lifted the shadows up a bit. But I think the main thing, I like the cheeky look, but I think the position of the head with that light, it's not great. It could be a bit better. That would be my coaching. It's always worth watching to see what happens, you know, wait. Also, of course, with animals, you don't know what they're going to do. They're unpredictable. Burst mode is a really good friend. You can just tap out 2 or 3 frames, like that. And then as the deer is turning its head around. Another little tip with deer, try breaking a twig, because they seem to be hardwired to notice the sound of a twig breaking, because obviously they're always thinking about predators. They're keeping an eye open for predators. So try snapping a twig, because they might just snap their face straight back at you. Bob, very accomplished shot you've got here, Bob. You know, technically, what can you say? It's absolutely spot on. And again, I kind of like your thinking. You're using a light to spotlight the subject. I get it. And I quite like the fact you've included the light in the shot of the tomato. I'm not entirely sure we need the smoke. I'm not sure what the smoke is adding to this. It's technically, it's very, very good. It's obviously spot on. It's pin sharp. You obviously did upload it at precisely the right number of pixels. It's an engaging sort of a picture. I'm not sure the smoke is helping. That's all. Thank you, Kevin. Really appreciate that, sir. Thank you for helping keep these challenges going. They take an extraordinary amount more time than you might realise actually to run, so it's much appreciated. Everybody who makes little regular donations and who buys us a sticker or supports these challenges, because I think they're important. I enjoy teaching them, and I love you guys for just being there. You really are the core of everything that's going on. Thank you for being there. Brian Westgate, you've got some very interesting light. You've got some really interesting subject matter going on here. I don't know that it's that well executed. I mean, that rain is absolutely heaving down. I love the fact you've got this sort of shaft of light coming down the street. I have been in a rainstorm like this in Cambodia. It was in Siem Reap where I was. We went out to a restaurant to grab something to eat, and it was kind of, you know, a warm, dry evening, nothing going on. While we're in the restaurant, the heavens open. When we came out, the roads were running maybe 12 inches or more deep in water. And what I love out there is nobody takes any notice. It's just like, yeah, it's rained. Everyone's still going shopping and crossing the street and just carry on like nothing was happening. I think it's wonderful. You have something like that in the UK and everything grinds to a halt and the media go crazy. I love the shaft of light, but I don't think it's making the best of your subject. I think maybe if there had been someone in that shaft of light, you know, facing the light a little bit, we've got a bit of a silhouette. But I get where you're going with it. And again, well thought of. Thank you, Browne. Let's just scroll down just a bit further because, you know, there are some very, very accomplished shots going on in here. Jim, you have used light very, very well here because this little group of oak leaves in the middle, we're kind of, you know, we know we're looking at them because the shade around the edges is keeping us away from beautiful colours. Again, technically very, very, very well executed. I love all the little pools of light and shade that are going on throughout this picture. The only thing is, I think there are too many leaves. That's the problem. It's so difficult to do this, isn't it? But it's kind of like, I don't know about you, but I'm bouncing round and round and round in this pool of light. I'm not quite sure where to look, but there are some beautiful colours. I wonder whether or not changing position very slightly and just possibly concentrating on this little clump here, seeing if you could change focal length, isolate them just a little more. But technically great shot, well spotted, there is a pool of light, beautiful colours. Lorianne, now you've really spotlighted the subject. I mean, what could be more spotlit than an event, something's going on out in the field, I'm not quite sure what, looks like archery or shooting or something like that, and the spotlight's highlighting everyone. Now, if it is rifle shooting, you obviously don't want to be on the other side of them. However, it's kind of like, I'm not quite sure where the subject is because it's spotlighting a lot of things going on here. I love your composition with the lights. I just wonder, could it have worked if you waited just a little bit longer? Maybe if someone had turned around, maybe if there was one person doing something different, I think that would have helped. Observation is always king in these sorts of situations. Possibly towards the end of the event when most people had disappeared just before the lights go off. Maybe if there was one person spotlit there kind of looking at you as you took the shot. But good thinking, Lorianne. Again, technically, very well executed. It's a tricky exposure, very, very spiky light. I'm just checking to see what's going on. Thank you, TJ. That's a very kind thing to say, thank you. Bob, you're using light very effectively here to highlight the subject. What I really like in this shot is the light on your wife's face. I really like this little bit of light down here. I think that is actually where your picture lives. I'm not sure it's the reflection, the eye. There's something just, I don't know, a little bit spooky missing about having the disembodied eye and just a little bit of the corner of mouth. Maybe she's keeping an eye on you, mate. I don't know. But I do think I love the light on her face, and I can't help but wonder if maybe if you turned the mirror just a bit, just away from her face, and then focused on her face, this to me is where the picture lies. This area in here, I think, is by far the most interesting. It's that little highlight bit along the edge of her face. Great effort, Bob, and well done to your wife as well for being model. I know this can be quite difficult finding someone to keep still and be your model. Chris Sharpington. Yeah, I get it. I'm just looking at your description. I never look at the descriptions when I'm actually looking through the pictures because I just want it to be about the pictures. you've got a very, very grey day and you just got this bit of light come through. I think there's just a bit too much going on in your shot, Chris, because yes, the sun is sort of highlighting the building, but it's sort of only highlighting a bit of it. And then I get a little bit confused between the bridge and the water and the fountain. Maybe if it was just the building, just the house, I think that could have helped a bit. Maybe it's a timing thing. I know myself, I've been doing it today. I was out filming another, motorcycle photo ride video, and I was chasing this hole in the sky. I thought, right, we're going to have some light over there, and I was riding in the direction this. When the time I got there, damn thing had gone, and it could be you saw this and that it was all lit up, but by the time you'd managed to get into a position to do it, it was too late. It is so frustrating. But what this says is that you're looking around, you're spotting, you're seeing light, you're thinking about it. And that is really important. You're welcome, Darren. What else have we got going on here? Jamie Smith. Well, you've absolutely used a bit of light here to highlight the subject. I love this little pool of light. Cats do this, don't they? They sort of poke a bit of themselves, maybe just tuck their head into the sunshine. I also like all the shade going on around. I like this sort of darker area back on Kat's side. Maybe if you'd open the shot out a bit, I don't know what's going on behind it. There might be some great big bright shiny thing which is really annoying. Now there's a saying in photography where they say, you need to get tight on the subject. Well, I disagree. Try getting tight on it, try giving it a bit more space. For me, I feel this shot could do with just a little bit more space around the cat. If the rest of the cat, it was in shade, then I think it would be very, very powerful, because you just have the cat's face really lit up in that little pool of light and this sort of silhouette-y, shady sort of cat in the shade, and then we would know precisely where to look. The light would really be taking us on a journey. DPR Bredden in the studio with Francesca, and you've used light very nicely. I mean, what we've got here is some very beautiful light on Francesca. I kind of like the way you've included the light in the corner as well, but I feel your exposure could be brighter. Maybe you're going for that moody look. Maybe it needs more contrast, and that would possibly help it, because you've got some very nice beautiful rim light going on around her shoulders here, some lovely shapes and textures going on around her collarbones, and just the shape of her body. Absolutely great, those little pulls. But I feel it probably needed a little bit of light onto her face, maybe a reflector, maybe something to push a bit of light back into her face. Maybe if the exposure was a little brighter, it might just help. Maybe a bit more contrast would give it more of the moody look. The light is telling us where to look, and by nature we're drawn to people's faces. We're drawn to faces. You've got some beautiful light here. It hasn't quite come off, but keep playing with this idea, because you are so going in the right direction. Let's just scroll down a little bit further. I mean, look at it. There are some great pictures going on in here. Just look at these. Anton, I really like this one. And I did keep coming back to it. I'm sorry it didn't go any further, because this is the sort of thing I kind of like. This is a bit of me. Someone walking past a street lamp and being lit up by it. I think the thing here is it's very, very dark indeed, isn't it? And so we can see there's a few lights in a building, but I'm not sure. I think it's a bit too dark. A little bit earlier in the evening might have worked. Of course, it's so hard to do this, isn't it? It's about being in the right place at precisely the right time. Something which might have helped here a bit, I think, is possibly, one, if you waited a moment and got our pedestrian just the other side of the light, because right now they look as though they're about to go dong, walk straight into the lamppost. I think had they been just the other side of it, I think it could have helped compositionally. Don't worry about the fact they're walking out the frame. I know there's another saying in photography about your subject, a human subject, should be looking into the frame. Absolutely nonsense. It gives it more of an edgy feel when they're looking out of it. But that doesn't mean it's wrong to have them looking into the frame either. It depends entirely on what you want the shot to be. I also think there's probably a bit too much going on down at the bottom. I think maybe if you tilted the camera up a little and lost that bit of foreground, it could have helped quite a bit. Let's get your hand out, people. Let's just take a little bit off the bottom. I think if you take out the greenery and just go maybe halfway up the lines in the pavement. I like those lines in the pavement leading back because they sort of work with the vertical lines of the wall. But if we took just that greenery off, I think it makes it stronger because the greenery, the leaves in the foreground are sort of fighting with the person in the picture. Maybe even take a bit of, take some of the black off the top too. Now I think we're starting to get somewhere. You take, you know, a good 50% of the black from the top, 50% off the bottom so we can't see the leaves, and imagine that dark shadowy figure being just the other side of the post. And then I think you'd have probably nailed this one. What do you think, guys? Interesting without the greenery. Yeah, okay. TJ, a work in progress. Only have a phone, really enjoy taking pictures. Always take a load of close-ups, portrait, close, wide. Use your phone. Nothing wrong with using a phone. Great photos come from the photographer, not the equipment that was used. If you were to Google Michael Christopher Browne, there isn't an E on his name, Michael Christopher Browne, photojournalist. He did, I think it was a series of 2 or 3 books, pretty hard-hitting, harrowing books, but he shot the whole lot on a phone because he was in a war zone in Libya. He was amongst the warlords. He suffered some pretty severe things. He was kidnapped, he was held ransom, he was beaten, many things happen. Brave guy. But being in that environment, you don't want to be waving a camera around, but people take less notice of a phone. He shot a whole series of photographs which have been an exhibition and published in a book. Google him, Michael Christopher Browne, and go and have a look at his work. He's a very powerful photographer. But yeah, he shot a couple of books with a phone. You wouldn't necessarily know. What else have we got going on here? I really like this one, Mark. It's very kind of reminiscent of black and white photos in, I don't know where in the world you are, Mark. Costa Coffee in the UK had some beautiful, great big black and white prints, very contrasty, like this, of coffee cups, their barista machines, all staff photographed around their coffee bars. And they were very, very powerful. This kind of puts me in mind of it. The light is very much telling us where to look. My coaching to you would be, we've got a little bit too much to look at. Maybe if you could have, I don't know, isolated more of an element within there. Possibly, again, let's see what happens if we sort of take a bit off the top and bottom. Let's just try this. Maybe take the top off, take the bottom off. About 50%. So we haven't got the cups on the top. We haven't got this bright highlight down the bottom, the thing it's sitting on. And we're just looking at the barista machine, sort of through the middle there. I think that helps quite a bit. Also, these little lights on the side here are a bit of a distraction. Always look at the entire picture. Always look at everything. It's really, really easy to concentrate on the subject and not notice little distractions that are going on around there. But I love the contrast. I think black and white was absolutely the right choice here. You're very much highlighting it. I just think there's a little bit too much going on around it, Mark. Let's just... Carrie, I do want to just touch in on this. Your niece, Kiara. Wow, she's been entering these challenges. Awesome. I think it's very interesting, but I'm not sure. I think that light is just a little bit too much. So she's underlit. I don't mean there isn't enough light. I mean, it's kind of coming from underneath and it is very, very spiky. I'm guessing she's holding a torch down in front, shining back up onto her face. And it's slightly to one side, which is okay. I think possibly it could have worked better if the torch was a little further away. I don't know if she could have held it further away. Maybe if you diffused it just a tiny little bit and maybe got it square under the chin, I think then you'd have that kind of weird dramatic sort of light. But it is a nice shot. The thing to remember with light is that the closer you are to the light source, the spikier the light becomes. I've done this before, but I happen to have my phone kicking around here, and I'm hoping I can show you this. So here's my phone, I've put the little torch on. If I put that close to my face, look, we've got a very, very burnt highlight. But look, as I move it away, it doesn't just get darker, that highlight will start to, look, I've only got to move it a little bit, and suddenly that highlight starts to soften. It's still there. If I take it away, you can see the difference. But just moving it away, that little tiny bit, puts that hard light on my face, but it's not causing that burnt thing. And then take it away and you can see the difference. Strange stuff, light, because it's invisible. We can see the light source, we can see what it's landing on, but you can't see the light itself traveling between the two. Carrie. Carrie, you're saying your niece took that. That's awesome. Good on her. If you're watching, niece, nice one, Kiara. Have another go. Try moving the light source a little further away. What's the time? I can't believe how quickly time is going, because it's really, really exciting looking at your pictures. Stephen James Barnett, hello sir. You've been around these PLDs from way back when. Most of you guys who are here have been, which is absolutely awesome. Stephen, I like these delicate little mushrooms. The thing is, the word delicate, because they're delicate, they need slightly more delicate light, or possibly a lot less exposure. Now this is tricky because everything you've got surrounding your little mushrooms is quite dark already, and the exposure is just right. You've got a lovely dark exposure on the greenery and everything that's going on around it. And had that exposure come down a bit further so the mushrooms weren't quite so bright and you didn't have quite so much burnout here, I think this would have been lost. Very, very tricky because you've got white mushrooms. If they were a darker tone of mushroom, like a brown one or something like that, then I think you'd have probably got away with it. Nonetheless, well spotted, because look, you've just highlit your subject, telling us what to look at, just using light. You found a little pool of light, you're seeing light, and this is awesome. Most photographers struggle like crazy to see light. It's the hardest thing, generally speaking, for us to get our heads around. Jos just said something interesting too. If you shot this as a RAW file, it's quite likely you could pull some of those highlights back again if you were using something like Lightroom or RAW processing software. You might be able to put a highlight brush, just run it over here. And if you're just putting the highlights down, you can just sort of wave it around anywhere in that area, because it'll only affect the highlights and it might just take them down a bit. Good idea, Jos. Darren. You're a scary dude, Darren. Okay, you're using light to tell us where to look. The thing is, there's nothing else to look at. And your expression is really, you want some? Yeah, you want some? It's a powerful picture. I'm not sure you need the red. I mean, that's just me. But nonetheless, it is a powerful picture. Very, very careful you need to be with some of these things. And again, I think if the light source was a little tiny bit further away, it's just spilling over onto your eyebrow. This is where a little bit of post-production can help. Just sort of eyebrow, eyelid, just below your eyebrow, whatever this bit's called in here. I think if that could be a little bit darker, it would be nice to see a little bit more of what's going on. You have got a little bit of backlight. I can see it's bringing out the shape of your head. You've tried really hard with this. You put some work in here, and I really, really congratulate you for it, because the bright side of your face is against the black. Whereas the dark side, we've just got that little bit of light on the background, which is just helping the shape of your face, but it just needs a touch more. But nonetheless, great stuff. Well done, Darren. You put a lot of work into that. You all put a lot of work into these things. And, that's what makes it completely awesome. Beverly. Hey, Beverly. What we've got here is some very beautiful light, which really works well for these little leaves. The thing is, they're the only thing in the shot. And so therefore it's not so much the light is highlighting the subject, because it's like if you kind of need some surroundings for the light to sort of do its dance in, to show us where the subject is. But because the frame is full of subject, we're not kind of using the light just to find the subject. Does that make sense? It's finding the thing we want to look at because of the light within the space. It's great light for your subject, but I think you could have used a bit more space, and then we'd have sort of seen the light coming in, something really, really highlighting it. Amber Boring, thank you for bringing this picture in. And again, you've been looking and you've been thinking. This is what is so exciting, watching you guys thinking. Just seeing how you put ideas together. Now what we've got going on here is actually, it's not bad light for that house. Look at these little pools of light and shade. I think your exposure could have come down a bit. Always remember, you can argue with your light meter. Your light meter doesn't necessarily know what exposure something should be. I think the exposure could come down just a little bit. The thing is, there is a lot of light going on the surroundings. Look at all these trees in the foreground. Now, if they were in shade, and I can see you've got cloud with gaps, so there are spotlights going across the landscape. The light isn't so much doing the highlighting. What is doing the highlighting is the fact we've got these shady branches in the foreground. But again, well done for noticing, for spotting, and for putting some work and effort into this, for looking around you. Because so many people think, I'll just go and spend a load of money on a camera and I'll take great pictures. No, I watched somebody with a very expensive Hasselblad camera once jump out the car, take a picture of sort of like leaning on a gate, and I just thought, I know how that's going to look. It's going to be awful. The guy probably thought, I've got a 50 grand camera here, £50,000 worth of camera, the picture's going to be brilliant. Yeah, if he just walked through that gate, walked round the corner through another little gate, he would have found a lovely stone wall leading out into a lake, and it would have looked absolutely gorgeous if he'd stood next to the stone wall. It's not the camera that does it, it's you. Great, well done, Amber. Thanks for looking, thanks for spotting, putting in the work. I absolutely take my hat off to you for that. Maybe if you waited a little while to see if a shadow would just sort of fall across these trees, you probably wouldn't need to shoot through these sort of scraggly branches, because the light would have done it for you all on its own. Photography is often about watching and waiting to see what would happen. David, I like pictures like this. I really do. I think they are interesting. I think they're intriguing. That's just me. I'm a weirdo. But when I see things like this, I think, what's that all about? I love the way you've framed this, the way you've moved around. You've thought about this. You've used the two trees very, very well indeed to hold the shot together. And you are kind of highlighting it. You are you are highlighting it. The light is hitting the chair. We've got this tree in shade, and we've got just a little bit of light on here. The only thing is, I think this texture on this tree and the chair, they're kind of arguing, and I'm not quite sure which one to look at. But nonetheless, I think the human element of the chair is helping. The other thing is, we've got some very bright stuff going on in the background here. Had that not been there, had maybe a cloud sort of been pushing one of those pools of light across the park or wherever this is, so that this really bright area back here on the grass wasn't there, then it would really, really pop. Great choice to use black and white. Well done for really thinking about your composition, for getting in the right place. It's just holding that chair. I think it's an intriguing, engaging sort of an image. Thank you, Kimberly. Thank you. Excuse me. Laurie, I can see what you're doing here, but I don't think we're using the light to highlight a subject here. I think what we've got a picture of is the light coming through the trees. That's what's going on in this case. You know, great. You got a lovely starburst. You used a very small aperture, which is what created the starburst, and maybe you used a starburst filter, I don't know, but a very small aperture will create these starburst effects. But yeah, like I say, rather than having the light highlight a subject with an image, the light is being the subject. We've got light coming through the leaves. But good effort, good effort. This one, I've got to say something about it, haven't I? Because it's powerful. There's no two ways about it, Ian. It is a very powerful picture. It's a very powerful high key image. Once again, I'm not sure we're using light to highlight the subject within the image. Maybe we are, because we're letting the light blow out around. Yeah, okay, I'm gonna come back from what I just said. Yes, you are using light to highlight the subject. I think maybe a little more of her face would have helped, or possibly we got this ghostly eye here. Maybe a little bit of post, little dodge, something like that, just to lose that eye. Or maybe just not quite so much blowout around the cheek, because it's certainly an engaging image. It's certainly something that it catches your eye. It makes you stop and look. That's not an easy thing to do with any image these days in the world of Instagram, where it's next, 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 next. I like this one, Anne. You have found some little pools of light, and you are absolutely highlighting your subject. Very, very tricky light, this one, because it's very, very spiky light against a very, very dark background. I guess you're looking into a wood somewhere, and it is so dark in that wood that there is little or no background detail. There is a tiny bit. This could have done with slightly less exposure on the leaves, but then we would have lost that background. But really good effort, Anne. Nice one. Well spotted, and well done for giving it a go. Phil Saunders Hall, well, you see, you've done that very, very well, haven't you? You've used the light extremely well to highlight the subject. We've got space around our subject. We've got a light coming in from the right of the frame and blowing across the angel's face. Then we've got another light coming in behind at the back, which is lighting up the background. So the darker side of the angel is against the lighter part of the background. Technically very, very well executed. I can see you spent a bit of time getting this right. Yeah, very well done. Maybe, and I'm being super harsh here, if the angel, the little angelette, the figurine, was just turned fractionally clockwise so that you didn't have this highlight on that cheek, you'd have a really clearly defined this side of the face and that side of the face. I'm being really picky. I'm really being a very nasty coach on this one. But it's technically very, very well executed. And you have, of course, used light very effectively to highlight the subject. Let's have a look at a couple more. There are so many that would be so great to talk about here. Let's have a little look here. Who took this one? Let's have a look. Raphael. Hey, Raphael. This one's tricky because you are using light to highlight the subject. We're drawn to human shapes and figures. And we got these two, and you know, it's just great, isn't it? You know, these two, they're holding hands, they're held in the arch around, you know, from the autumn trees. And we're using all that brightness of the sky to highlight them. The thing is, I think, Raphael, there are so many other highlights happening, all these pretty little highlights on the ground. They are distractions. It's kind of tricky. Also, it's a shame the edge of that tree's cut off. Now, I don't know what's going on behind that tree. If it was just those trees, those people against that sky, I think it would work better. I find it slightly uncomfortable that that edge is kind of cut off. I don't know. It's a tricky one, this, because you've done it really, really well. I love these little pools. I don't know if there's a little pool of light here. Maybe they'd come a little further. So maybe they were half lit. You've got a little light around the edge of their bodies or something while they were still against that brightness of the background. Tricky, tricky one, but well done. Great effort. What else have we got going on in here? There's just so many. There's just so many. Alan Baxter. Well, you know, yeah, you absolutely fulfilled the brief here, didn't you? You've got lots and lots of space going on in your shot, and you're using the light to highlight the subject within that space. That is absolutely spot on. You waited for the right moment you know, for our walker on the shore to step into that light path. Light paths are wonderful things because they're yours. They're nobody else's. When you've got the sun shining across the water, that path comes to you and no one else, and you can move your light path. As you move, the light path comes with you, and no one else shares your light path, because only you can occupy the physical space within which you're standing, which is a fabulous thing. So my coaching here, I like the dark exposure. I like the way you've gone for the dark exposure and the silhouette-y form. My coaching here would be, could you walk sideways with that person, because their body language is kind of awkward. Maybe in burst mode, just as they did it, you might have caught us another moment, or if you just walked with them a bit, then you'd have brought the light path with them and held them in that light path as you're moving sideways. I'm being picky here, I'm being your coach, but you fulfilled the brief beautifully. Irene Carson, how are you? I hope you're well and happy. This just made me smile. A feather in a cactus, I guess. And you have, of course, used the light beautifully. We've got some great backlight coming around the cactus. And it's just highlighting that white feather so well against the background. And there's just a little bit of detail in the background. There's some little bits of highlight and shade. We're not quite sure what they are. I'm not sure we need the two lumps of cactus either side. It's great light on them. Hey Irene, I thought you'd be here. Hello to everyone down there in sunny Australia. Let's just do the thing. Let's just try. Just close one eye, just take those two off either side. And I think if you just take the two off either side and just even come into the main cactus a little bit, I think it becomes more powerful, because we really go boom into the feather. But you've done a great job there. You absolutely have highlighted the subject within the frame using just light. Nice one, Irene. Let's hope we can go and do a workshop again sometime, somewhere in hot sunny Asia again or something. Taking the ears off. Clive, well described. The extra cactus, yes, they're a little bit like ears. I hadn't spotted that until you said that. Great shot, Irene. Where are we? It is moving on. This is beautiful. Michael. Well, Michael, you're good at this. You've been doing this a while. A lot of your photography is very good. Let's just, you know, I'm sorry it's not further up the list, but again, remember the shot we saw earlier with all the oak leaves? Beautiful shot, beautiful colours going on. Do you remember I said it's almost like there are too many leaves within that highlight area? Whereas Michael, you've done a really great job. Technically, obviously, it's spot on. You know what you're doing, sir. You know, we've got a shallow depth of field. We're absolutely focused. But the thing which is really picking out these leaves right in the middle is the light, because it's just falling off either side. There's just this very, very narrow little band of light, and it's only on these leaves, so they stand out from the other leaves. Not an easy thing to do. Beautifully done. Little sun breaking through on some full leaves on a windy, stormy day. Yeah, you found that narrow little slot of light just to pick out those leaves. The other thing Michael did here is he moved very quickly, because that bit of light on those few leaves, it wouldn't be there for long. Light doesn't hang around. Light moves. Light shifts, light travels. So well done, Michael. It's a great shot. I'm sorry it's not a bit further up the line. Mike Ranger. I like your use of black and white. And also there is an area within this image which is being highlit by the light. Let's get rid of that. Sorry, my mate Timmer. We're trying to have an old boys get together. It is highlighting this area down here. The thing is, all the rest of what's going on in here is kind of fighting against it. Okay, so I'm guessing it's a steam engine. They're brewing up the tea. I see the billy cans there, the boiler. There's just a little bit too much going on. The highlight is over here. It's not on the tea. And because there's so much going on, and I'm guessing you're an enthusiast, excuse me, I'm guessing you're an enthusiast with this sort of stuff, because I get it. You're going, oh, we got all the valves and the gauges, and we got the, you know, the thing hanging around here, you know, isn't it the thing they stick out the side and somebody grabs it, dispatch bag or something like that. But there's just a little bit too much happening. We either need the light just to pick out the billy cans because they're brewing the tea, or forget the billy cans because the light is actually picking out what's going on in this corner here. And maybe if your exposure was just set for that, I think there's enough intriguing mechanical things going on here that maybe if you just concentrated on that area and pulled that exposure down a bit, might have worked better. Black and white's a good choice though, no question. Hey Mike, what were you saying? Sorry, no, it's a retirement Tresendate on hot plate. Got it. Well, I haven't got it actually, but I got to move on. Gert, you struggled with this challenge. Good. Good, because you still did it. That is the key. Just because something's tough isn't a good enough reason to not do it. And I love the fact you gave it a go. And you know what? In a very, very graphic way, this works. It really does. Look. Even, you know, you've included the light, and I kind of like it. And I like the fact that, I'm guessing, is this you? I haven't read it. Yes, it is you, pondering the challenge. I love the fact you've kind of done the pondering expression. The light is cleanly halfway down your face. You've included the light in it. You've actually told a pretty good story with this. You've told your story of doing this challenge. And what you've actually done is highlight the problems you were having with it. I think it's actually very clever. I do like this a lot, and well done for entering it. Where are we? It is 10 to 8. We're going to have to move on in a moment. Let's just look at one or two more. Oh, look at that. Isn't that clever? Katie Ann Sanders. Isn't that lovely? Isn't that lovely? And it's such a clever way of doing it. Using the moon to highlight the subject, just those three little leaf silhouettes. I just think it's really, really well done indeed. It is a lovely shot, Katie Ann. I'm sorry it isn't further up the list. And I know I've been talking about giving more space and using light to highlight it, but this is such a clever interpretation of it. It shows some really out-the-box thinking to use the moon to highlight it. I think it's absolutely great. That's all I can say. I'm sorry it's not further up the line. Keep going. Hope to become one of the regulars here, Lord willing. Katie Ann, be one of the regulars here. We want you here. If you're going to come up with ideas like that, you're going to inspire all of us, and that's what this group is about. Right, I think I'm going to have one more, just have a little look down here just for one more perhaps. And then we're going to move on to our winners and runners up. I really like this one, Judith. But you entered it too late. I'm sorry. It closed on Sunday, not yesterday. I think it's really intriguing because the thing that's highlighting the subject are the rays of light. It's not just the light. Now, of course, you could maybe have moved a little and lined it up so the sun was directly behind against that sky. But I kind of like the fact it's the rays of light pointing at the unicyclist. Yeah, I saw it just this evening because I haven't looked since Monday. But I think it is a really intriguing interpretation and a very different way of doing it. I'd love to see what it looked like if the sun was right behind the unicyclist's head. But it works as it is. I quite like the empty space around the outside as well, where you've positioned everything. I think it's great fun. It's a great shot. Sorry, Judith, you just entered it that little bit too late. So let's go and have a look at the ones that I chose, the ones that sort of tickled my fancy for this challenge. Now I have to just do a little bit of sneaky moving things around whilst, because I don't want you to see what they are. So I'm going to put me big back on screen so you can't see me doing it. Okay, so here we go. My runners up in the Spotlight Challenge are as follows. I really, really liked these shots. I just thought they were very, very well done. I really did. I'm just trying to see, because it's so small on my screen, I'm trying to see Neil Harper. Hello, Neil Harper. I just think it's a really simple shot. It's just fun. It just sort of works, you know? You don't have to have amazing subjects. Remember I said right at the start, light is king, light is everything. You could have the most beautiful model or the most amazing composition, but if the light isn't great for that subject, the picture isn't going to work. So you've got some scruffy old boots and a bucket, but the light's just great, and to me it absolutely works. That little shaft of light coming in there is highlighting the subject. It's spotlighting the subject, which is all we can ask for. That is what we were hoping for. Sorry, I'm just checking something weird was going on my other screen. Congratulations, Neil. I think it's a cracking shot. I really do. Now, the next runner-up for me was... I wish I could see who it was. I'm so sorry. Right, here we go. McDonald Rose, A. Martin. What great light. What absolutely great light. You know, look at the expression on this fabulous, what is it here? Guinness is the name of your dog. What a fantastic name for a dog. Look at the expression on Guinness's face. Look at the way the light is just catching the whiskers on either side. The way he's got his head in this little pool of light. Now, whether that's a pool of light that's been artificially created or whether it's a pool of light that, you know, is just completely natural. Who knows, who cares? What I love is the fact that it is such a great shot. I just love the expression. But the light is truly highlighting precisely what we need to look at. What we've got here as well is a big lump of red. Red is usually something to be avoided like the plague because red is a distraction. We're drawn to red. Red is a natural danger warning, and we are naturally drawn to reds. And it can be dangerous putting red into a composition because it will distract. But because you've got the light just beautifully on Guinness's face, it just works. I think it's a great shot. I really do. The other thing I want to just say is, remember we were talking about what camera you use? I just saw in the comments, old iPhone 11, I think you said. Great. It's the photographer that makes a great picture. If, you know, regardless, if that was taken on a £50,000 Hasselblad, it might be a little bit higher resolution, there might be a little bit more bit depth or something like that. But the spirit, the feel, the shot is great. Taken on an iPhone. Fantastic. Well done. Our next shot is by Elizabeth Grace Morning. Very, very simple. But it's just working. And again, we're using these little rays of light to tell us where the subject is. And I quite like the fact there are these little bits of lens flare or spectral distortion or whatever on earth you call it. I have a suspicion this might have been taken on a phone too. Don't care. That little flare of light and the shadows coming from that backlit bit of dandelion clock, to me, I think is great. It just kind of, and we've got a strong diagonal too. Look, we've got a diagonal going top left to bottom right. I didn't even notice that until this very moment. This is the key, I think. The light is just running through there. Great. Gary just said, reminds me of tumbleweed. Yeah, I get it. It kind of does a bit. bit like my love life, really. It's full of tumbleweed. Anyway, enough of that. What else? What else? I'm just looking at some lovely comments coming through here. I'm so delighted that you guys love these pictures because, you know, so much work has gone into these. Dorothy, we see you a lot, don't we, Dorothy? Within the group, you're really active, as you all are, which is fantastic. I love this one. This is a tricky shot, but look, we've got a wonderful light sandwich. We've got shadows in the foreground. We've got not only have we got shadows in the foreground, we've got shadows and textures, which lead us back to more highlights and shadows and textures. And you just can't miss that row of trees with the shadows all coming through at an angle. I just think it is absolutely beautifully spotted. But then again, look at the hill behind. It's all in that misty shade. It is in no way competing with the subject. We know immediately what this is all about. It's about that line of trees. My coaching here, if it was possible, you're gonna hate me, is wouldn't it be cool if we could just lose the foreground? I mean, I love the divots in the foreground. It's the line of bushes, and I don't know, it's almost probably impossible to do this. Just if it could have been a little bit higher so we didn't actually have the line of bushes. I don't know, the line of bushes frustrate me. But that's not your fault. You've done a really great job. You have used light absolutely to spotlight the subject, and we know what that subject is. Really like that shot, Dorothy. Oh, hang on. Irene said, Dorothy said that these trees were just cut down. Oh, what a shame. What a shame. Thanks for sharing that, Irene. What a shame. What a lovely row of trees. I wonder if that one in the middle is still there. Because, go back, have another go with just the single tree, because lone trees are always exciting. But what a shame it's been cut down. Or they have been cut down. So next, my final runner-up. I just love this one from Ken Grant. I really like this, Ken. Is this a self-portrait? I'm not sure. Let me have a look on my thing here. Does it say anything? No. It just says Ken Grant, PLD Spotlight. I think it's really interesting. Look at those comments. You've obviously been talking in the group and coming up with some experiments. But what I liked is, yes, our portrait, our guy in the shot, if this is you, Ken, maybe it's a selfie, but you're really powerful and dominant in the shot. Yeah, but there's more going on here because you've used light in a very clever way to highlight yourself, the subject. I like the fall of light on your face, that really bright side, but it's not burnt out. You've kept it technically well within range, but then you're doing something else which I think is really clever, and that is using the shadow. What are shadows if not just another play of light? That shadow on that highlight. I think it is a really accomplished shot. I think it's a very powerful portrait. What do you think, guys? I'm just intrigued. I think it is really, really strong. I don't know if you're here, Ken. It'd be great if you are. Oh, Moose, thank you. It is Ken. It's a selfie. I think it's a really powerful shot. It's a really powerful, gritty, documentary sort of a shot. And Ken, you've got a great face. I love the way you've also composed it from low down. I like the way you've got that swoop of shadow coming in behind, you know, on the wall, and the way you've sort of nestled the back of your head into that shape as well. I think the more I look at it, the more I like it. I think it is a very, very powerful shot. See you later, Gert. You got to go. I just caught that out the corner of my eye. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for entering. Thank you for being part of PLD. I like the two shadows together, says TJ. Yeah, I totally agree, TJ. I'm just looking at some of your comments just to see what's going on here. Really nice shot. Okay, let's move on one more place and see which one I kept coming back to. Which one kept drawing me back and getting my attention? I think you've been here before, Diane Harper. But I really think it's a very accomplished, clever, simple photograph. I really, really do. Not only have you got space in the picture, not only are you using light very, very well to highlight your subject, I like the shadows you've got in it. You're creating these sort of lines within the shadows. And we're absolutely just being nailed with, this is our subject, this is what it's about. But you've also somehow got this kind of, I don't know whether it's thoughtful or sad, sort of a feeling going on within the shot. Because you're very, very good, I've seen your mannequin shots before, you're very good at putting the body language into the mannequin, finding a way to sort of somehow position them. Just look at the position of the knees being just slightly together, the feet slightly further apart, the head in the hands. I don't know if it's thoughtful, I don't know if it's sad. What do you think, guys? Bob's saying life in jail. What do you think? Thoughtful, sad? What does it give you? Because I think there is an engaging emotion here. I also like the hard line of the step and the way the light of the shadows are going up and over it, and the shadow of the mannequin itself on the back. My only coaching here would be, would it have been possible to have just the head of the shadow behind in shot as well? And that, I think, is the only thing you could do to bring it further. Oh, you're a gloomy lot, aren't you? Sad, despair, both. That's both thoughtful and sad. Film noir at its best, says George. Yeah, good one. Despair, despair. Exhaustion, says Crystal. That's a good one, Crystal. I would imagine you've got some beautiful colours going on where you live in the world at the moment. And that incredible forest you showed me. Despair. Love the use of black and white, says Nick. I totally agree. I don't get the prison bars and I don't get despair. I'm not as gloomy as you. But I think it's a very well accomplished shot. Black and white totally works for it. Technically, obviously, spot on. Exposure's perfect, but it's the light. You are absolutely shining a light on the subject and telling us where to look. So thank you so much for entering your shots, for being part of this PLD. Now, I've got an important thing to tell everyone, so don't run away yet. If you are signed up to the PLD newsletter, you will get a reminder of this, but it's really important because from now on, these live sessions of PLD, they're coming off YouTube. They're just going to be inside the PLD group, okay? They're going to be the same format, the same sort of thing. The PLD live events, just like this, where we talk about stuff, they're just going to be within the PLD group on Facebook. They're not going to be out here on YouTube for the time being, because I have reasons for wanting to try and rebuild up the YouTube channel, and I want to do that by bringing in more sort of photography-based stuff. Now, not that this isn't photography, but I want to sort of probably bring in more of the videos, the hints and tips and the travel and all this sort of stuff. So we are moving PLD lives like this one into the group. We might do some other live feedback stuff occasionally, but the PLD one is going to be in the group. You will get it in that newsletter. I will make sure you're reminded within the group. Please make sure if anybody is like, whoa, what's going on? Make sure everybody knows. Please spread the word. You're the most wonderful, friendly bunch of people there are. The next challenge will be live as soon as we finish this broadcast. Those of you on the newsletter, those of you who've signed up to it, you will get a message. Anybody who is confused by things that we've been talking about, such as light and shade, how to use light, how to control light, whether or not you're going to argue with your light meter, whether you're going to change the exposure from what the camera says, please come and have a look at my Masterclass in Photography online course. It is getting such fabulous reviews, and I've had some very moving and touching emails from people about it, because it will give you camera controls, light, composition. Those are the building blocks. If you can't do those effortlessly and easily, I'm sorry, my friend, you are at the start of the journey, because it's the thinking, it's the ideas that really give it. Anyway, I'm not going to bang on about that. It's been a pleasure talking to you. Thank you so much for coming. Thank you for being here. I look forward to seeing what you come up with in the next challenge. It will be live on the website very shortly. I'll stick a link into the Facebook. Congratulations to all of you that entered. Thank you for being the awesome group of people that you are. See you next time.